Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we're in the shop today and we'll be working on another part for the Corvette. You guys can see the Corvette's back here. We're not ready to install this just yet. This will be a future project, but I need to do some modifications to this particular item so that we can even get it to fit on our C6 Corvette. And what that is, this will actually be something that you saw in the previous video, and that was a dry sump conversion from a C7 Z06 for our C6. Yes, that does sound a little weird, C7 on a C6, but you really only need one piece for this conversion, and that is going to be a little mount that we have. Let me go get that, but yeah. So what we have here is the 2014 to 2019 C7 Z06 ZR1. Basically, all of the dry sump motors use this tank, and this is basically going to be our install of a C7 tank onto a C6. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is actually tear this tank apart. And what I mean by that is we're basically going to take the top half of the plastic part of the tank. We're going to take that off. You can see we have the C7 lines. We've got some billet lines right here. There's some AN fittings. And then we've got the C7 lines. But if you guys can see, I have a feeling that these were bent. This doesn't really look like the handiwork of GM, because if you guys could see that, it looks like it was originally bent kind of going that way, and then they just bent each one up. And it's kind of flattened. You guys can see what looks like hammer marks on here. So, I don't know. I bought this whole kit on Facebook Marketplace for $400 shipped. So, got some kind of janky lines, which I don't think we're going to use. We've got a tank that actually has some damage on it, and then you'll see this mount right here. This actually did not come with this. This is off a C6 ZR1, and this is the dry sump tank bracket. Now this is going to be the upper bracket. I don't know which one of these bolts it's going to bolt to, but basically it's going to mount between two of these bolts, and then the other end of this bracket will bolt somewhere onto the frame. So with our car being a wet sump, it obviously didn't come with that bracket, and I picked that up from Leasey Parts over on eBay. Now, I had mentioned we're going to need another part to convert the C7 tank to fit the C6. And that is this little stupid bracket right here, which is a piece of aluminum. And basically, oh, I guess it is machined a little bit, so I guess it's not just a straight bracket. But basically, you're going to bolt this to the tank, and then this will bolt to the bottom frame rail on the Corvette. So, yes, you can see I wrote on here, C6 dry sump tank mount, and that will bolt somewhere down here. I think it might be this one, or there's another one underneath this duct tape. So yeah, so that's one of the mounts you're going to need. The other bottom mount is the same between the C6 and the C7, so that should bolt right up. I'll give you the part number of the C6 specific one. We'll write that down below, and we'll go from there. Now the next thing we need to do, like I said, we need to take this apart because I need to know if I need to order a new filter, because there's some kind of screen or some kind of filter in the very bottom of the tank, and the only way for you guys to get to that is actually by taking the plastic upper tank off. So we're going to take off these, I don't know, 7 or 8. I think they look like to be a 13mm bolt. Take all those off, look at the bottom, and determine what we're going to need to order, because I think the C6 has a very bad plastic one. I think the C7 they sell, I think it's a metal one. So let's get this apart. We'll show you that. And also, another reason we need to take the top off is because when I bought this, I didn't know, but the very top of this tank is broken. You guys can see this little crack right here. I'm not sure if the light's gonna be able to focus that, but I threaded a bolt into this top mount, and I could actually move the plastic. So this plastic has broken right here at the top. And of course, the guy that sold me this didn't tell me about that. I discovered it after I opened it up. So it is what it is. Like I said, I spent $400 on this whole kit. These things go for like $1,200 on eBay, and the used C6 Z06, the single tank, I've seen go for like $700. So the fact that I've got the later generation, the C7 tank, and I only spent $400 on it, I'm not too butthurt about it. And yes, we've got some lines I don't think we'll be able to use, but I did get those AN fittings. And yeah, so I think when we're done with this, we'll have just the cost of the tank and that new upper piece. I just ordered that. It was like 180 bucks, something like that. I think we'll have about 600 bucks, 650, something like that for a C7 tank. That ain't a bad deal. So, all right guys, we got the tank torn in two, as you guys can see. There were 8 13mm bolts holding this together, and there is an O-ring on the plastic tank side. You know, I do have a new one of these coming. I don't know if it has an O-ring. We might need to replace that. So just keep that in mind, that there is an O-ring, you know, on this container. As far as the tank, I don't see any major damage or crap down here. Now it is dirty. There's like a heavy, best way I could describe it is it's like there's a heavy sludge in here, because you guys can see I put some fingers on that stuff down there. And yeah, it's just like a real heavy sludge. So I'm not really entirely sure what that is. So before we ever put this anywhere near my car, we're gonna deep clean this thing. And the first thing I found was the C7 tank has this pipe that comes out. This might be the same as a C6. I don't know, I've never seen one torn apart. So there's that pipe right there. And then if you can see down in the bottom there, this is the difference between the C7 and the C6 tank, is the oil pickup tube at the bottom. This looks like a oil pan pickup tube versus a like metal screen. I'll have a picture of it here of the C6 version. It's just like a round plastic and metal screen. It's kind of weird. So it looks like it's a 10mm. I got my extensions. So let's pull that out and we can take a deeper look at that. All right guys, this was a little bit of a bugger to get out. I did not know how this was mounted. Well, you guys can see the hole there. That is a 10mm bolt, like we said. That bolt is at the very bottom of the tank. You guys can see it's right there. And then I was trying to pull on this bracket. It wasn't coming out. And then I took this piece of duct tape off here on the side, and I saw that the pickup tube was actually the innermost one, this one on the bottom. So I actually just stuck my finger in the pickup tube, pushed on it, and I got enough momentum that this thing actually popped out. So, and there definitely is an O-ring here, and I'm not sure what you guys can see on the camera, but there is some crap in this pickup screen. I don't know. This is one of those, it's like, I don't remember this being an expensive part. I want to say it might be $20 or $30 from the dealership. I might just go buy a new one of these. If it's more expensive, we'll let you know. We'll correct it down below. But I want to say I actually have a tab of this already open. I think it was $19 or $29, something like that. So we might just buy a new one. I mean, yeah, with some compressed air and some brake cleaner, I think I could probably get that crap out of there. But you know, it doesn't look like metal. It almost looks like a peanut shell, but I know there's not gonna be a peanut shell inside the motor. So I don't know, it could be a leaf, could be anything that's outside that somehow got into the oil. So the side tank, this almost looks like a giant V-band. All right, it might be an 11mm. Take that off. There's an E-clip here. There's an E-clip on the bottom. And then I think you're just gonna take that and spray brake cleaner throughout the whole thing. Put brake cleaner at the top, hit compressed air on it, have it blow out the bottom, because I don't think, it doesn't connect to the side. But what I mean by that is where it looks like there might be like a connecting tube here. No, it's just a mount. So take brake cleaner, run it through here, clean it through the bottom, maybe blow it out the other way as well. And that will help you clean up the auxiliary tank. Now that is pretty much gonna be it for disassembling the main tank. And we've got everything torn apart. I'm not gonna clean it just yet because I'm actually waiting on one more modification to get it here. I ordered it 2 months ago. I emailed them a few weeks ago. I'm not gonna say what it is. They never replied. I called them on Thursday and Friday and they're like, oh, here's your order. Yeah, we can go ahead and get that shipped out. So needless to say, there's a company out there that doesn't follow basic customer service. I had to call about an order that I placed online, and finally they got it shipped out. They charged me, and I think I already got a tracking number. So hopefully that'll be here in a couple days, and we'll go over that. And in the meantime, off camera, I'll get all this stuff cleaned up. And like I said, I'm still waiting for that new top. I'm waiting for that other part, and now it looks like I'm also gonna be waiting for the pickup tube. So, all right guys, it is another day, and our parts for that C7 oil tank have finally come in. All right, so we've got our little cleaning booth here. We've got some purple flour. I went to Walmart, picked up some brake cleaner, and I'm not exactly sure what else we'll be using that for. Then we've got the air compressor over there. So yeah, this is our C7 tank. You guys will see some new parts in it. The first part, this is the new composite plastic top that we were talking about earlier in the video. I think it was like $180 shipped, something like that. Then the additional part you'll see, this is a insert from a company that I am going to throw under the bus. That company is Aviad, however you say that. This is basically a insert that goes inside the tank. This is all, I think it's aluminum. Yeah, that sounds like it's aluminum. I think it's supposed to help prevent aeration and, you know, having the oil slosh around a metal cylinder. I think this is supposed to help prevent that, help to prevent splashback as well. And the reason I'm going to throw these guys under the bus is because I ordered this through the internet. I ordered it 3 months ago, had no updates at all. Sent them email like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, not a single response. I finally had to call them, and the guy picked up and he's like, oh yeah, well, those just came back in stock. I've had zero communication about any updates on shipping of this item. It's not that it was that much money. This was only like $225, something like that. It's just the fact that they have zero customer experience. It's like, if you're going to be selling stuff online, have a presence, you know, have someone check into it. Don't ignore emails. Don't just be like, oh, yeah, we had an internet order and never fulfill it, because if I hadn't called, this would have never been fulfilled. So yeah, and actually, guys, when I did call, the guy was like, oh yeah, we'll get that right out. He did, but he never gave me a tracking number. It just showed up. Actually, it showed up on my UPS notifications because I have that turned on for anything coming to my property. So I found out a tracking number from that. Didn't know who it was from. And then the other thing was, I had to go back and double check they didn't charge me, because when I paid online, you know, I thought I'd bought it, you know, like I said, 12 plus weeks ago. You know, they never did. Went back and checked my statements, and they did charge me when they actually processed it. So just A, you know, due to the lack of customer service and communication, and B, their website is super old. It's almost like a flashback that you're checking out of a website from 15 years ago. So use a credit card, don't use your debit card, and if it's secure, I don't even know if it's a secure transaction. You know, just obviously be careful with your statements, because you never know, stuff gets hacked real easily. So yeah, I don't know if there's any security on their customer service portal, and definitely they don't. Well, I don't even know if they have one, because like I said, I had to call them to even find out that they had these back in stock and that they'd be shipping. And so yeah, so I'm just looking out for you guys. When I run into bad customer experiences, I will share that with you. So yeah, now that the rant is over, we can go ahead, get this thrown in when we finish cleaning this up, and let's finish getting this thing torn apart. All right guys, we've gotten a couple parts torn apart. We've cleaned up the pickup tube. We've picked up the gasket that's actually in the bottom of the old composite cap, cleaned up the dipstick. And then for the oil cap, guys, this is very weak paint. And what I mean by that is, if you spray brake cleaner on that, it'll start to lift that paint right up off that cap. I haven't done it on that cap, but I have done that on previous, you know, oil caps and stuff. Just be careful with that. Don't spray brake cleaner right on that. So I did want to show you one more piece. It is this little metal plate. It's held in with two T10 screws, actually T20, apologize. And where that goes, it actually screws in to the bottom of the main cavity right here. You guys can see where my finger's pointing. It goes in the bottom there. I wasn't aware that that was a thing, and when my new top came in, it did not have the two screws or this metal plate. So we'll get this cleaned up, we'll get installed on the new top. And here you go, you guys can see we got the aluminum plate transferred. It is a T20 Torx, like we said. This is plastic, so just screw it in slowly and put a little bit of pressure on it. You don't need to over pressurize this thing, because you'll just snap and strip out that plastic top. All right, now we're gonna start on the oil pickup tube for the bottom of the tank. You guys can see we have that right here. Did order a new O-ring for it. This is from GM. Part number is 12657524, and that is for the oil pump suction pipe O-ring. You guys can see that right there. So Yeah, I think this was a couple bucks on, I actually got it from Summit Racing. I actually ordered a number of other things from Summit Racing. I think my order was over $100, so I ended up not paying shipping because, you know, for something like this, paying $10 for shipping for an item that's like $4 is kind of stupid. So save up when you got to do stuff through Summit and make sure your order's over 100 bucks. So yeah, we got a new O-ring. We're going to clean this thing out with basically compressed air and brake cleaner, and we're going to want to make sure we get all the crap out of the screen. Oh, I said earlier I thought this thing was like $30. Actually, it's like $75, and looking at how clean this thing is, I think compressed air and brake cleaner will be just the perfect fit. Do have the air compressor cranked up to 150 psi, so if there's anything in here, it should blow right out. All right, guys, we've gotten the small auxiliary tank removed from the bigger part of the tank. This is just held in with those E-clips. They're the same type that hold the transmission cooler lines into the radiator or even the oil cooler lines. Like I said, it's just the E-clip. Pop one end off, pull the other end off, you're good to go. This came right out. The giant, which almost looks like a giant boost clamp, T-clamp for a, kind of like a big Duramax, but this is just a 12mm bolt. Loosen that up, got that taken off, got the E-clips out. I can actually remove that 90-degree fitting at the bottom of the tank. We can pull that out. But yeah, so you just pull that out, pull this tank up, and I've kind of just been cleaning the surface off because for some reason, the guy that I bought this from painted this, and you guys can see his like gunmetal paint here on the bottom versus the natural paint right here on the side. I think he had this in a Chevelle, so maybe that's why he painted it, because he probably had it right behind the radiator and he was trying to hide it. Well, on a C6 or a C7 Corvette, you know, that thing, you're not going to see it at all, because literally the only thing you're going to be able to see from the top of the tank is the black plastic piece and maybe a little bit of the metal, you know, that metal ring with all the bolt holes in it. That literally is the only thing you're going to be able to see. So for this part, I'm not too worried about what it looks like. I just want to make sure what's inside of it gets cleaned out. So again, we're going to spray a bunch of brake cleaner in it. We got our compressed air up to 150 psi. Blow this thing out, and if a bunch of crap comes out and it looks like we need to clean it again, I may submerge this piece in a bucket full of water and some Purple Power. That's kind of our backup if we need to actually kind of like deep clean inside of this thing. But I think just the brake clean will be working just fine. It's worked fine for everything else. All right, guys, you can see the bottom of the tank has been cleaned out. There were some of those dirty chunks that we had talked about earlier. Those have all been cleaned out. Cleaned out all of the access tubes on the side. You guys can see there's 2 here, and there's also 2 on the other side. These have all been cleaned out. And so yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for this bottom half of the tank. You will notice I did take off this plastic wrap stuff, the sticker stuff. I think that is on there to prevent like electrolysis between steel and aluminum. Pretty sure that giant hose clamp is actually made out of steel. So that might be something that we look into replace with maybe like a rubber strip or something like that, just so that you don't have those 2 metal surfaces contacting each other. And I'm pretty sure that's why that was on there. So, all right, guys, we've gotten the tank all cleaned up. We got the new insert from Aviad also cleaned up. Guys, I cleaned that up with a bristle brush and brake cleaner, air compressed air. We did that a couple of times because when they used either a laser cutter or a plasma cutter on this aluminum tube, there was still a lot of loose aluminum chunks and burrs in all of those cut marks. So if you guys do order this kit, that's another thing to look out for. Make sure you clean it well before you put it in your car, because I definitely had a bunch of aluminum. Now, they're like microscopic. I don't think it would do anything to the motor, but again, it's a new part. You don't want that going through your motor. And so yeah, so just make sure you clean that up really well. All right, guys, for installing the pickup tube inside the Aviad insert, basically you're going to take the ringed edge here, you're going to feed it through the hole on the side, on the bottom. We're going to run, you know, this piping through there, and then that flange surface that you guys see right there is basically going to end up on top on the screen, and the outside of this pipe is going to end up on almost the outside of the tank. Okay, I literally just needed to rotate it 360 degrees. You guys can see the flange surface at the top. You guys can see the pickup kind of coming on the outside of the tank. And then basically, like I was saying, we just got to put this into that hole to the right of the pickup tube. And guys, the other thing I wanted to double check was that there was no O-ring or a gasket or anything at the bottom of that pickup tube. When I took it apart, there wasn't. I just checked the GM parts manual and there's no gasket there either. The only gasket is actually at the top of this flange surface right here, and it's this little O-ring, this black one, that will go at the top of that flange O-ring, and that will actually plug into the bottom of the composite tank. So, all right guys, so this wasn't that difficult. Once you get everything kind of shimmied in, you just press on the bottom of this tube. And if you guys can see down there, I apologize for the bad lighting, but the tube is inserted into the bottom of the tank. All right, so that black O-ring that we were just showing you, we put that at the top of the flange little tube here. Then we've got to feed that flange tube into this circle right here. If you guys can see the outline of the gasket on the bottom here, it's got a point. If you guys can see the shape on the flange, that's where that point goes. So we basically need to line it up like that, but I want to make sure we get that flange gasket into here first, and then we get this tightened down. Alright guys, I have gotten the top tightened down to the bottom. As you guys can see, we have the top and bottom as one piece now. And one way to verify is actually stick a camera down into the top of the tank. You guys can see that black tube right in the middle of the screen going through that piece of aluminum. Well, if you guys keep following it down, it goes into the top of that pickup tube and that gasket that we put in place. So the way we tighten this thing down was just kind of doing it one bolt at a time. And I skipped a bolt, so I tightened this one down, went to the next one, went to the next one, etc. And we just did that a couple times. Probably, you know, turning it with the wrench like 4 or 5 times each time. Did that a couple times, went around it. Because when I first put the top on the bottom of the tube, it did not want to match up. It was probably off by like a ½ inch, maybe a little less than that. But just slowly taking our time and tightening, going in a circle, you know, 4 or 5 turns each, we did get the top of the tank cinched down to the bottom. And that gasket was able to compress, and now it is sealed between the top of the tank and the bottom and into that pickup tube. All right, so that is the top of the tank done. We got the dipstick in and the cap as we said. And so yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for the tank. Let's go ahead, get the side piece on. That's gonna be just these E-clips, put the tube in, put the giant hose clamp on, and we should be done. All right guys, I just finished up tapping 2 of the holes for the mounts on the bottom of the tank. And 2 of these, this one and this one, were kind of screwed up. I'm not really sure why. This one, if you guys can see, the piece of aluminum, it looks like it might have been dropped at one point. So I have a feeling when the tank was dropped, it hit that bolt thread and it kind of screwed it up a bit. So I just used a metric 8, so it's an M8 by 1.25 tap. Ran that through there, it cleaned it up just fine. And I also cleaned up the hardware that I used. So that's actually like an LS2, LS3 bolt pan bolt, all 4 of them. These ones are longer, so I put them up front. And I've got 2 shorter ones that I put it here in the back. And like I said, those are all in metric 8 by 1.25. And this is that front mount that we were telling you about earlier. We'll include the part number down below. And the back mount, you guys can see where it goes. I've got hardware for it, but that has not come in yet. I have ordered that. Actually, I just checked it a couple days ago. It has not shipped yet, so that might be one of those items that's just going to take a couple weeks to get here. But it's very similar to this. It's just a piece of aluminum. I think a little bit of it is machined out, but it's kind of facing downward. This is the upward side. This is kind of the downward side. And yeah, so that C7 mount, C6 mount is the same on the back of the tank. It's the front mount that points upward, and this one. This is different between the C6 and the C7. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for the C6, C7 tank. You guys, you know, we revealed it in this video. We took it apart, cleaned it, modified it, then had to do a little bit of repair on the mounts on the bottom. So yeah, not bad to have about 600 bucks into that for the factory piece. And then the aftermarket piece from Aviad, I think that was like 200 something. So we've got about $800 into it. But you'll be lucky to find even a stock tank with the lines and some A-in fittings like we have over here for less than $1,000. So we've got 800 total into it, or 600 for the OEM tank. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more oiling updates, we actually have some more dry sump parts here. We have some stuff on the way. We'll have a future video for that. If you want to see that video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. And if you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. We will include links for everything that we've used down below today. The new mount for the C6, the tank insert from Aviad, the upper tank part that we got from General Motors. We'll include part numbers for all that. And also make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any support you can give there goes right back into the channel, the projects, the Corvette, the truck, and all that stuff. And that's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.